Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I tell you, I am so glad to see you. I really am. And I'm glad to be with you today. Thank you so much for taking a little time out of your busy schedule to spend with me. I really appreciate it. And I would like to welcome all of you to another episode of TJ's Topics. I really do appreciate you being with me. I consider it a joy, an honor, and a privilege to be able to come into your presence on any given occasion. Now, today, I have a question I'd like to ask you, and that is waiting on the Lord what's holding us back? That is the question I have. Is waiting on the Lord holding us back? And I ask this question because, let's face it, it's something that we were taught starting out in early childhood that we must do in order to receive the very best that life or that God had to offer us. And we have waited and waited and waited for so long for various promises to be fulfilled, for a number of our hopes and dreams and wishes to come to pass. And yet, many of us have reached a certain age in our life where we still have yet to see those things manifest themselves in our lives. So I'm asking this question, and you can answer in your own time or in your own way, not trying to convince anybody to believe a certain way. That's not my job. I only pose these questions just as a means of, offering you something to consider. And so that's what this is all about. Is waiting on the Lord really holding us back? While Christianity teaches that waiting on the Lord is the right thing to do, for the thinking man or the thinking woman, the question arises, is waiting on the Lord the best thing to do? The reason one may ask this question is because they may have already been at a place in their life where they have spent years or even decades waiting for a promise to be fulfilled, a prayer to be answered, and an expectation to be met, only to be let down time and time again. And when you have prayed for something and you've been hoping and wishing, believing and trusting God for a particular thing to come to pass in your life, days, weeks, months, years, and even decades go by, and you still have yet to see the manifestation of this thing. It causes you to question your faith and to wonder whether or not it's even worth it. I mean, and I've been there many times, realizing how short life is and how finite our time on this planet is. One can't help but wonder, when it comes to waiting on the Lord, is it always necessary in every situation, or only in cases when it may be required most? And I tell you, being at the age I am now, I'm 46 years old, getting close to 50. And once you get to this age where I am right now, and even up to 50, it's safe to say that you have already lived a good portion of your life. The average life expectancy of men on this planet, well, not on this planet, but in the United States, is somewhere around 76. I think it's like 76 point something years old. And the average life expectancy of women in the United States, I think it's I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's like a few years ahead of men, maybe like by 79 or 80, something like that. But in other words, we don't have that long on this earth to begin with. And to have to spend all that time waiting for things to materialize, trusting an outside entity or an outside force to bring these things into fruition on our behalf, that can be pretty bothersome to some. It really can. And, and when it comes to religion, especially that of Christianity, they've always taught that waiting on the Lord is the right choice that anyone can make. But in the process of that, sometimes people have the tendency to become complacent, and passive. They get to the point where they don't necessarily want to lift a finger to do anything for themselves. They're just waiting on something or somebody out there to make a move for them that they could really make for themselves. if that makes sense. Now, here are a few passages of scripture that talks about waiting on the Lord. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31 in the King James Version. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. And everyone knows that. But now let's talk more about becoming passive in having faith in God, and trusting and believing that somehow, in some way, God is going to bring these things to pass. Now, to be passive is to accept or allow whatever happens or what others do to us without taking an active response or resistance, without taking some kind of action in the situation. We just sit back and just let things happen, failing to realize that there are things that we can do in order to help remedy the situation as well. But the church doesn't always teach that though. But the Bible teaches it. See, now, for example, in James chapter 2, verse 17, even so, faith, if it hath not works, it is dead, being alone. Faith without works is dead. Now, here's a little saying that I found on this website called Think Eternity, thinke.org. When we choose to be passive, we are simultaneously choosing to dump the responsibility God chose us to carry on someone else. And that's usually the way it comes across sometimes when it comes to religion, and especially in Christianity. They tell us to wait on the Lord, and we do that. But then it's like people tend to get stuck and they want to sit there and not do anything. But one thing I've noticed from my own life experience is it seems as if things really didn't start to come about and materialized until I got up and did something myself. All the prayers and all of the fasting and Bible reading and 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 all that didn't do anything. But when I got up and did something, then that's when things start to manifest. So I'm going to end it with this. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 9. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? And 2 Thessalonians 3, verse 10. For even while we were with you, we gave you this command. If anyone is unwilling to work, neither shall he eat. So what that means is we got to do something for ourselves. We can't just sit up and wait on God, who we call God, or, source, or whatever name you have for who or what you believe in, to come and intervene in our lives and our affairs. We have to be willing to take responsibility for our own selves and make the right choices and do whatever is necessary in order to bring these things into reality. So, is waiting on the Lord holding us back? One might say yes. But it's up to you. That's a question that you have to answer for yourself. You have to ask yourself and answer it too. So again, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I know where I stand in my belief, and you have to determine where you stand in yours. So I want to thank you very much for tuning in to this episode of TJ's Topics. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. We're wrapping up Black History Month, by the way. We got one more week to go, and Black History Month for 2026 will be over. This is Taryn Jerome Harris reminding you that every round goes higher and higher. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.